Last week at the Euro finals, we thought we saw the worst of England. Bigoted fans were running riot. They were racially abusing their own players. But never underestimate the British or their uncanny knack of outdoing themselves, because the scenes at Wembley were just a sneak peek into British society. Turns out the big picture is even worse. The United Nations has multiple conventions on racism. Think of them as a red line for countries. Now, this is a red line that the UK has crossed. A new report talks about systemic racism in British society. Minorities are denied equality everywhere, in health, in education, employment and immigration. And where there's discrimination, hate crimes are never far behind. Let me pull up some numbers for you. These are from the year 2020, a year when the world was busy with lockdowns. But in Britain, lockdowns were breeding grounds for hate. There were more than 61,800 racially and religiously aggravated offences in 2020. More than 61,000. That's 7% more than in 2019. In fact, we can go further back to 2013. Back then, there were around 28,000 cases. So in 6 years, hate crime has doubled in the United Kingdom. And this is data from the UK's Home Office. Here's another worrying number. 27% of these cases were closed without identifying the culprits, which means that in one out of four cases, the suspect got away. Last year proved to be a catalyst for British racism. Two events were hate super spreaders, the Wuhan virus pandemic and the Black Lives Matter protests. The British looked at the virus and blamed their own East Asian communities for it. This translated into hate crimes. In the first quarter of 2020, anti-Asian offences surged 300%. Same with the BLM protests. They pitted British communities against each other. A demand for equality was interpreted as a war cry. For race supremacists, this was an opportunity. They said the white man was in danger, that black and minority communities were hijacking society. Does Britain admit to any of this? It doesn't. But then again, when has Britain ever admitted to anything? The Crown and its First Minister can do no wrong. To prove this point, Boris Johnson created a commission. But his choice for chair was a dead giveaway. An educationist named Tony Sewell. He has openly questioned claims of systemic racism in the UK, so nobody had any hopes from this commission. And when the report came out, it was clear why. A clean chit to Britain, no racism, no discrimination, no hate crime. In fact, the commission said that the UK was a model, an example for other white majority countries. What do you call this? Delusion? Fiction? Or just good old propaganda? The United Nations saw through this hollow report. They called it an attempt to normalize white supremacy. Of course, Britain does not agree with this. The government says the system is no longer rigged against minorities, yet young black boys are abused on social media. Black footballers are compared to monkeys and worse. We saw another example this weekend. Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton was subjected to racist abuse. He was a British driver, driving at the British Grand Prix, but it made no difference. From all over Europe, hate poured in. In the end, Formula One had to step in and defend their driver. Let me give you another example. This is from a couple of days back. A student in East Yorkshire was abused so much that she had to hide in the school toilet. This young girl was of mixed race, and she was blamed for England's Euro loss last week. Yes, people are still hung up on that failure. And they're still blaming black players for it. Now, don't get us wrong. Britain is not the only racist country in the world, but very few nations deny racism as vehemently and confidently as Britain does. Very few also pretend to be examples on tackling hate crime. That takes a special kind of confidence. The kind you get by appropriating culture, stealing foreign artifacts, and illegally conquering half the world. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.